Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. Currently, we're reading Amari and the Great Game by B.B. Alston, and today we're discussing chapters 19 through 21.
But first, previously on Wizard Team, Amari and Elsie get into a fight about Amari keeping secrets. Elsie doesn't believe that Amari is trying to tell her what's happening, but is blocked by a vow that she made. But Amari kind of decides to just let Elsie be mad at her in order to keep her safe. At the same time, she and Lara come to a truce and decide to stay partners. While the other junior agents get to fight a Carcole, Amari, Lara, and plot twist Tristan, who's now on their team, go with Magnus to deport a Nightwalker from a flightless fairy community. Amari speaks to the Nightwalker, whose name is adorably Newton, and learns that he's just trying to live his life. He doesn't want to be arrested. He also doesn't want to fight for the magicians. He's just trying to, mind his business and hang out with his pet Shade. But Amari lets Newton go, and he has to leave his Shade behind, which means that now Amari and Lara are stuck with it. Then Amari gets called into the first challenge of the Great Game and loses. Maria starts to teach her more about magic, but then they're interrupted by Harlow and a bunch of agents. And that's where we've left off. Basically, things just going from worse to worser.
Going from worser to worser. I want to do a quick aside. We are currently doing an Octavia Butler read in Community and BNC Reads, and I just wanted to put this on the record, for perpetuity, you know what I mean? Because the internet is forever, and so this podcast might live on. DJ!
Oh, Lord.
We fight. The Patternist is awful. It's good. It's a good story. It's well written. But damn. Okay.
I mean, I can't really say it'll get better.
That's what I'm saying. I'm waiting for the
worse.
Octavia Butler rom-com.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I
don't know why you're waiting for that.
I want a cozy fantasy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Genre that she was not around for.
Are you not reading the descriptions of her books and seeing what her closest thing she has to romance is very questionable?
Girl,
I don't think she has anything close.
I understand.
The vampire one? Is that?
Oh, I haven't read that one in a while.
Okay,
the premise. Yeah.
Listen, what I'm saying is,
but it's not.
I'm reading the back. I know that we're in for it, but this.
It's just gonna be this way. Which, if you want to read Octavia Butler with us, you should join our community. You will have to read Patternist on your own and then catch up.
Yeah.
But we've already read Kindred, and
don't use me as
reading the Pattern Master, and then we're going through that series. So
it's just
it's
so funny because I literally was reading it, and then I was like, oh, I have to read Amari for the podcast. So I just did the 3 chapters, and then I went back to the Patternist.
That's a
crazy
tonal shift.
It's just
that's a wild shift. Although I will say Pattern Master is short.
Short.
It's more of a novella, honestly, in terms of length. So that kind of helps ish. But yeah, it's not.
And I think that's also why it seems so beat you over the head, because she's got a lot to get. She's doing a lot in a very small amount of space and time, and so it just she doesn't waste time getting to the meat of the story. But I just want one chapter where they're and then we ate dinner and it was nice, and we slept and it was nice, and we had a conversation and no one was worried about whether or not this conversation meant that we were trying to be murdered or murder. Just one.
Perhaps you
Also, I'm listening to Homegoing by Yaga. The problem actually might just be me and the library.
I'm like, I think
it sounds like
in the
like what is.
It's just going in a different turn. I will say for me, because I'm almost on the last book of the Inheritance trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and so the tones are very similar. So it really didn't really bother me that much, mostly. But like also, I read dark and fantasy full of pain often. But also, I just was like, I try not to when I read a series, I like to try to read them all at the same time. But I've had to put other stuff in the middle. But this time, that one didn't I was like, oh yeah, same. We're talking about murder.
And
Let's go.
I think where I went wrong was after Kindred, I was like, give me fluff. I literally after Kindred, I read Garlic and the Vampire, which is this adorable graphic novel twice in a row. I was like, I just give me clouds. Give this anxious little garlic bulb. I want that. So I think that might be the problem too, but I don't know. I guess maybe I just need to stay. I can't. I don't know.
I don't know that you need to stay in it. I shift my.
I need a balance.
I think it's more I think there's a way to find balance. I think that for me, I usually, not everything I'm reading is dark, but I also kind of think about okay, if I'm reading a bunch of fantasy back to back to back to back, I'm gonna just slip a rom-com in there somewhere. You know what I mean? Or I'll just slip something in there just to break it up. But yeah.
That's y'all are
it really
just y'all are different. Yeah, the way that I F with darkness,
we just have a different. I different tolerance. And interests.
Because whenever I I was like, oh yeah, it's February. It's gonna be Black Romance Month. And then if I put in some other romances too. I put in the Secret Society of Irregular Witches.
Yay!
And then I put in.
And you loved it. Never mind.
It's not that I didn't hate it, but it was the actual vibe that I'm in is historical. Okay. That's the vibe I'm in. And so I was I put these inks. I was determined to so there's a reason. I have books that I the book Tia Williams' book came out this month, and I really enjoy her writing. And I just read this book.
7 Days in June.
Why?
Maybe at the end of last month. It was so good.
It's so good.
Oh my
god!
That was my first
another
one.
A Love Song for Ricky Wilde is even better. It's even better.
Oh, okay, cool. Because it's on my list. As soon as I finished that one, I was like, okay, I need what's coming up.
The backlist. I think I tried something from her backlist. Her backlist had something that was a spy novel, and I was like, I'm not. I read it and I was like,
when I looked, it was not stuff that I. Yeah. When I looked at it, it's not that I wouldn't read it. It just wasn't the same vibe.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't think I'll do it yet.
Yeah. No, don't F with it.
Yeah.
It's gonna take you out.
7 Days in June was just
Ricky Wilde was so great, and it had a historical aspect to it that was in there too. And I was like, I wasn't even expecting this. That solidly it just solidified my need for historical fiction.
7 Days in June was also one where it was it's very much in not, but kind of in the Octavia
triggering,
in the Octavia Butler type of I know what this is, but I didn't know that it would be this. Is dark the right word for that? I don't know. It was
I mean, it definitely deals with some heavy
issues.
Topics and issues, and so I definitely, when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, okay, this is definitely could be triggering for some people.
I did not I don't think I looked at the cover or whatever. I think I it was on a bunch of romance lists, and
because it's not a
rom-com at all.
No, it's a romance though.
It is a romance.
So it would honestly, I was like, damn, I need. It
would be more dark romance, but I give dark romance more of a mobster thing, and it's not that either. It is very good though. But
it's just got heavy topics.
It's just got heavier. And so anyway, let's get back to Amari. The whole point was we're doing this read, and the tonal shifts I'm going through are a lot for me. But let's go back to the happy place of Amari and the whimsy.
Middle grade fantasy exists for a reason. And
for me,
part of it is having a place to come to be comfortable in the world in the
and
moment.
like things are like going wrong. Like this chapter 19 that we're about to get into is like not a happy chapter. Mm-hmm. It's just the tone.
And it's the tone, and also like we'll get into the chapter after, like chapter 20, which is like is pretty like chill and you know what I mean. It like has the tone. It just has a lighter. It's a lighter read.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's infuriating. So we should.
Okay, so we start chapter 19. Harlow immediately arrests Maria. Tells Amari that she should be more concerned. Like Amari's like, "What are you doing? We didn't do anything wrong." Merlin said that Merlin gave us permission to like have these lessons. Harlow's like, "You need to be more worried about yourself than worried about Maria," and told her that, you know, I was hoping that by making you an elite, you would be grateful. You'd be more grateful, which is like not how that works, but also definitely what we said when she was made an elite, like this is a bribe or this is a
be grateful, Anya.
Yeah,
be grateful.
You know, this is not. Yes, you earned it in quotes, but since when is since when is earning something the only reason why you get it? You know what I mean? Like there are
right. And she also just found out about the elites when she was made one. So it's also not like she has a like some kind of idea in her mind of like the status. Like obviously they're called elites, so you know that that's like there is something there, but she's not attached to it in that way. So
it was like
you made her an elite. She's like, okay,
had.
fine. Her first thought was, great, that'll make it much easier to investigate this time freeze. Like that was her whole thought.
Really funny because like we see often that like Amari is both ostracized for not being really a part of this world. Like she is, like we said, like she is technically a legacy, but like only a legacy from like one remove with Quentin. But she also, like they would like to remind her all the time that she is not like of the supernatural world, but then they also want her to react to things as if she's of the supernatural world, because none of them have like all of them are so steeped in it that they can't fathom that someone would not become an elite and immediately just be grateful and just like not want to cause waves, just, you know, keep their head down and smile and be a poster child for good. You kind of saw this too in Amari and the Night Brothers when like the opening chapter and they're like at her school and they're like, you're a scholarship kid. What are you doing talking back and not letting people bully you? Like, you know what I mean? Like you need to just like just be happy you're here, basically. And Amari is not of this world, so I don't give a fuck about your elite club. Like besides how like you said, like besides how it can help me in my investigation, it doesn't mean anything. So Amari says Harlow will always see magicians as bad because of her parents. And then Harlow's eyes flash and she tells her to leave her parents out of it. I only added this because I feel like it matters. Like that, like the fact that like they made a point to be like Harlow's eyes flashed. And then she was like, let's leave Lord and Lady Harlow out of this or whatever their names are. I forget. I don't know what her last name is. But I can't remember why. I kind of remember why, but I can't with like assurance tell you why. But remember this moment.
She definitely said, keep my mama and my daddy's name out your mouth.
I kind of feel like it's because she's the one that did something. I don't know. Anyway, so Harlow explains that they need someone to be guilty and they decided it was Maria. She shows Amari how easily she can twist the truth because Amari's like, I'll rat you out, you know? And she's like, oh, you'll say this and I'll come back and say this. Perception is everything, my dear. And you do not have the PR team that I have.
It's interesting to me too that like, and like part of it is like, yeah, she's a classic villain, so like in some ways, like of course she does, but the ways that she kind of spells out how things are gonna go to Amari, and like Yeah, she's just like the worst.
And like we talk about villain-splaining all the time, but I kind of love this setup of Harlow's villainy as being like she controls the narrative, because it allows her to villain-splain and threaten Amari while also like, especially like for the target readers of like children, like explaining to them like not every, like, you know, it's like how everyone's like, you can't trust everything that you read, and like, you know, like it's just
like the misinformation.
Yeah, just like media literacy, y'all, and like being skeptical. But at the same time, it's like teaching Amari this as well, because she tells her basically, like, you're like, in order to stick up for Maria, you'll say X, and then I'll come back and say Y, and who are they going to believe? But in the next breath, she also tells Amari, like, you actually, but you are, you know, a popular influencer. You are the good magician, and I'm going to use that to help you, to help sell the story about Maria. And in turn, we won't send Maria to the sightless depths. We'll just put her somewhere out of sight, but she won't be like in danger, like in prison. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just like a very interesting thing where she's kind of telling Amari, like, you do have power. Like, we don't want to like go up against your popularity. You know, you're a likable kid.
But also, like, you have power, but also, like, I know how to use that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just really hated what was happening to Amari, but, like, enjoyed the storytelling building of like, she's not, like, threatening Quentin or threatening like her parents, or like, you know what I mean, like, she's not saying like your life is in danger. She's just saying like, I mean, I guess she is threatening Maria, and like being in the sightless depths is not nothing, but she's just also saying like, people want to believe you, and I can make it so that you continue to be popular and you continue to be beloved, but I can also make it so that people stop believing you and you go back to being the magician that everybody is scared of. Because it's true, like, people are still scared of Amari. You know, when she was coming, when she got allowed back in camp, we saw with her and Elsie, like, going through the tubes, you know? So, and then the nightmare, like the chapter before, was like, oh shit, no. Like, not only are you with the Bureau, but you're also a magician. You're like doubly scary to me. So, and Amari is a child who wants to be liked. And so it's just like an interesting threat. Amari agrees, but then also it's like, I get to keep the spell book, or if I agree, I'm going to keep the spell book that her and Maria were like learning out of. And she goes, because it's sentimental. And Harlow's like, sure, just don't let me catch you doing any of the spells. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, I mean, sure, it's sentimental, whatever, but like,
I can't wait for her to be able to like tell good lies. Or think on her feet.
Just think a little bit quicker. Yeah. She said sentimental. I said, girl, you just got here. They know you just got here. You became a magician and was as shocked as everybody else a year ago.
What sentiment could you have?
What is sentimental?
But also, Harlow just told you how you're not going to be able to one-up her, and how she is actually playing the game around you and using you within the game. And you think this is you think that's, you didn't think, you just used your mouth when you needed to get the thing you wanted in a moment. But you could have easily just shoved it in your jacket pocket. I don't know. Like, Like, was it worth like alerting Harlow into what you want? Like, I don't know if it's worth that.
She's just not that quick. Like, she's a very smart kid. She's very talented.
Not in being deceitful.
We know she's not quick. She could even get that picture of Elsie.
Right.
She couldn't even get that picture of Elsie when she was asleep. So she's just,
and then
it's okay.
Her stunts, you know what I mean? Like,
we're working on
any kind of stealthiness. That's not what Amari's doing.
She's not in the spy department.
She's not, and she will not be. So Harlow escorts Amari to the junior agent room, tells her to be ready for her, like, when she's going to ask for the favor, that it will come quicker than she thinks. And Amari...
That's the other thing, though, is, like, I hate it for Amari. Like, bargains that you don't actually know what you're agreeing to.
I know.
Like, you kind of do, but it's vague, and it's like, oh, I know what I have to do for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know what you're going to do for me, but I don't know what I'm going to have to do for you, and I have to just agree without knowing.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I mean, no matter what, Amari's going to end up on the worst end of the deal between them.
Exactly.
The only respect I have for Harlow in this moment is that she calls it in immediately rather than letting it hang over Amari's head for too long. That's the only thing about it that works out at giving Harlow anything in this at all, you know?
Right.
Like she knows what she's doing. Oh, I don't like it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get into it later, but yeah.
She knows. So, Amari beelines to Laura. I really love, like, this book does a good job of making me like Laura in a way that I just was like, by the end of The Night Brothers, I was like, that child is irredeemable. Even though I know children are never irredeemable, that child is the worst, right? And I think the reason why, and we kind of talked about this in the last episode, is just that he does a very good job of not making her... she's the same character. You're just getting a little bit more insight into who she is. And we never make excuses for how crappy she can be. It's just that all of a sudden she's using that, the same shit that like made me hate her in The Night Brothers. She's just using that to help and be on Amari's side by the end of this book. And I'm like, oh, you're not that bad.
I think it's that, and also, I mean, like, we did discuss this, so I won't go like too deep, but it's also the, like, she is the same, but you do see like development and growth, and especially like, you know, you see how all of these events that are happening with all of the characters, how they affect them and change them, and so no one is really stagnant, even if they're like core, like, personality or parts of their situation don't change. Like, as new information comes out, as these things like happen, they're learning and adjusting and all of that as well. I will say too, like, we get in Amari and the Night Brothers, like, how much Lara cares for and looks up to Maria. And at first, the way that she articulates it is very like self-serving, and like selfish in the way that she thinks about it. And then, you know, we see that like nightmare that Amari puts her in, and like Lara, you know, it just starts to get deeper. So by the time we get to this point where we actually see them together, which might be like the first time we actually see them together, like, you understand more and you can see more of like how much Lara really cares about her sister, and like how that's now, like, it feels less like about me and what I needed her to do for me. It's also like, no, that's my, like, you know, that's my girl type situation. So it just like makes it a little more complex, I guess.
And you know where I stand. I don't hold grudges, but I'm not gonna let you just bygones be bygones, because I know, like, I'm never gonna not remember how far you can push it, and I'm gonna have my eye on you. So I perpetually have my
I mean, it's
and I think that's like,
everything she does.
And I think that's like also why I am enjoying getting to know Lara more, because I totally respect that, and I'm not going to be like, oh, but you're wrong, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, nah, you right, and you should, but and Amari should, but also like, in getting to know her more, you kind of,
I don't feel nothing different for that girl. I'm like, okay, that's cute. That's nice.
No, I think for me, it's more like a commentary on B.B. Alston's writing, in like the ways that he makes these kids, again, like, not like fully redeemable, but just like allows them space to grow and to like not be stuck in
he has
these,
like multiple
archetypes,
they're not
you know what I mean?
they're not like one-dimensional characters, they're multi-dimensional.
Exactly.
I get that.
Yeah.
Sure, but also
yeah, I'm not saying you gotta trust her. Always both eyes open at all times. But I'm more just like, he gives all of them the opportunity. And I'm curious if, like, and maybe he won't, because it doesn't necessarily need to happen with everyone, but maybe at some point we get more depth into Tristan and Bear, and you know what I mean? And those things don't necessarily mean that they're like become good guys or like on Amari's side, but just like getting more insight into these like
and I think that's really it too, is like there are, and like we talked about this a little bit with or I said this when we were talking about the cover for the Despicable Ones. Is that what it's called? Despicable Ones?
Despicable Wonders.
Wonders. Is that what it's called? Okay.
Yeah. You're like, I want to put Prince and
the
Amari
Despicable Ones
together.
Literally. It was like, it's giving Prince. That's exactly what I was thinking. That it's or the Gilded Prince. Ones, but I definitely went to Prince first.
Yeah. Prince.
That's hilarious. But anyway, but I had said this about how like Amari's like group is growing. And so I don't know. Anyway.
Isn't the group growing? This is me again where I am. Is the group growing, or is Amari? For Amari, what I hope is that she's recognizing that she can't go it alone. She's kind of been forced to go it alone, and she feels she's still in a place of like, she got to keep secrets, got to keep stuff to myself for protection of other people around me as well. So I think what Despicable Wonders is doing, at least with the with the image and what we're seeing initially, and where we're getting into in this episode, is that like with her like having other people she can depend on, is that she is building out this thing of like being able to figure out how to do stuff without feeling like she's the only person that can do the thing. That's what I feel like is like the learning opportunity here for Amari, at least so far.
Yeah, and I think what I'm seeing is she's learning also like where she went wrong with, for example, Dylan, right? She's not just blindly trusting Laura. She's also not giving too much of herself into these relationships. Not giving too much of herself. Like her and Elsie, ride or dies, they gonna rock together forever. But she's like learning to be a little bit more
receptive, I guess.
Yeah, but also strategic. And like what you said, Porshèa, like she's gonna need help, right? And there are going to be people who maybe she doesn't always get along with, or she doesn't really like respect their worldview or whatever, but who can help her get to her goals. And she's gonna take that help where she can, but she's not going to like forget all of their flaws. Which she kind of did with Dylan. Like there were things in which like Dylan would do and she'd be like, wait a minute, that's weird. And he'd make an excuse, and her like need to believe the best in people because she wants people to believe the best in her would have her just like
taking his word.
Exactly. And like, I think so there's like a little bit, there's that growth in Amari as well. But so she runs to Laura and she's like, her first thing, and I rate Amari really highly about this, is like, my relationship with Laura is on a tightrope. Like we just decided that we are going to like, we're not friends, but we are partners. And this is a touchy subject. And I want to be able to tell her with as much like compassion and like sensitivity as possible. But I need to tell her now because I don't want, like, because of Amari's involvement, she doesn't want it to just like, you know, Laura to do a complete 180 and it just be back to like the first year again. And as soon as she starts to tell her, someone runs into the room and is like, Maria's in handcuffs, or Maria's being led away in handcuffs. Laura, who
just
has
straight up Kool-Aid man,
just boom, y'all come see this.
Amari was trying to break it softly, but also was like not doing well at that. Was like,
Yeah, it was just like,
did you hear about Maria?
We just said, Amari, be quicker.
Said, oh yeah,
be quicker.
Yeah,
like just say it, and then we can deal with the fallout. But so Lara, who has super athleticism, like speeds out the room. Amari's trying to keep up with her, but you can't. And we see them literally leading her through the department in handcuffs. Harlow makes this statement that they discovered stolen time freeze files on Maria's computer and that she was trying to recruit Amari to her side. Amari's like, oh, this is what this is about. Y'all don't want Maria looking into the time freeze, because Maria was looking into the time freeze to stop the great game. It's like, I'm sure that's a benefit, but Harlow told you what it's about, which is like,
well, I think it's levels to it, though, right? Like, it's definitely right, because Harlow is being open with Amari about like the power that she holds, but not about what her end game is and like what she actually wants.
Yeah.
She's still like pretending to be like a mouthpiece for Bane, right?
Yeah.
So she's talking about Bane's goals and what he wants and what, you know what I mean? But the true thing is, she don't want nobody looking into the time freeze, because
if they look hard enough, they'll realize who it was.
And it was her. But I'm saying like, and they don't want, like, Harlow doesn't want anyone looking into the time freeze. Like, if she knew whether or not she knows about Amari in the great game, she doesn't want Amari looking in the time freeze, but she also kind of doesn't think Amari could get anywhere without someone like Maria, without this help, right? And so, like she said, when she's like, you need to be worried about yourself, like, I could take you out too, but it just suits my purposes right now to put it all on Maria. So it's like, yes, both things are true. But then Harlow says that Maria was also trying to recruit Amari to her side. And then someone's like, is that true, Amari? Because they just have this like impromptu press conference or whatever, people just yelling out questions. And Maria looks at Amari and nods. And then Harlow's looking at Amari like, this is the favor we were talking about. And Amari says like, yes, that's true. Laura, so I'm just like, I don't know, man. I rock with it. Runs up to Maria with her super athleticism, breaks the handcuffs, and then before they could like stop her and drag her away, Director Van Helsing, I just imagined him being like the dad from the Black or White video. Cut off that noise! Just bust out of his room like, what's going on here? And then Laura's like, Dad, they're trying to blame Maria. And he's like, that magician is no daughter of mine. And that's how it ends.
Coward.
He's like, dude.
He's such a coward, bro.
He's the worst.
But it's also
terrible. Like, no wonder his kids are so questionable.
That's
right?
what I'm saying.
Like,
I'm like, it's a wonder. Dude. I mean, it's no wonder how awful Laura was in general, but it's just like amazing that like the other people in that department aren't like, ugh, that's how you treat your child? Like, no wonder she became a magician or whatever, however they think about magicians. You know what I mean? Like, well, maybe if she came from a loving home.
Like, nah, because they still have their bigotry, so that's not really a concern for them.
Yeah.
This is reminding me of a line. Like, I just finished this historical fiction book and I really loved it. Well, I liked it a lot. The writing was like my favorite part because the writing style was good. And oh yeah, I flipped right to the little quote. And one of the quotes that it says is that like, one white man will never condemn another for speaking what they all took to be the indisputable truth. It's talking about racism, but this is about like, discrimination and about against magicians. So like, what person in the bureau is going to stand up against Van Helsing and be like, if they all think that this is the way that you're supposed to react to, you're supposed to disown any magician that shows up in your family, basically. Because how dare you be associating with an unwanted? That is the exact right way to react to an unwanted in your family.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it's just crazy because it's like, I mean, I guess maybe we know more. They don't actually know that much about magicians and like
But does it?
Do they think that they're all born magicians? I don't really understand.
That's the sad thing about like bigotry, though, is that like they're bigots also because like it's not that like their ignorance is like, oh well, if they just learn better they'll be better.
Yeah,
no, they're pushing away learning about them. They're pushing away any like basis of understanding or tolerance. They don't want to get into that place.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think too for Van Helsing, right, like he's in the middle of this, he's just walked in on this spectacle, right? There's all these people, his daughter's in handcuffs, his other daughter's like beside herself, right? And obviously like behind the scenes he and Maria haven't been cool, but this is kind of the moment, you know, people have been questioning the Van Helsings, is like he's feeling like he's kind of teetering in his power type thing. And so I think he also is seeing this as an opportunity to kind of solidify where he is and like what he believes, and that he's still like with the status quo and still is, you know what I mean? Like it's not so much like it's partially for Maria and Lara, but it's really for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think he really did take this as an opportunity to like loudly and publicly disown Maria in a way that like he probably wasn't able to. I mean, he might have, I'm sure they put out like a statement or something like that in which he disowned them, but like
and I'm sure that he like privately I'm sure they've already like he's essentially disowned her.
Yeah.
Like, but this is a space to really like
publicly
declare.
Yeah, and like declare, I guess my thought process is, and I totally agree with you, Porshèa, it's like, because they refuse to know anything about magicianhood, right? I can't say like, oh, well, this pushed her to become a magician. If they think that all magicians are born magicians, because it's like, but either way, it's like both things are like just, you know, like I can't change how I was born. Like Amari can't change being a magician. She would have never known if Quentin wouldn't have brought her into this world the way in which he did. And Maria would have never like
thought like of like I get what you're trying to say, but I feel like even if it's not public knowledge that some magicians pass their magic on, I feel like part of the ire that director Van Helsing, it seems like he's giving to Maria, is based on like no child of mine. Also kind of insinuates like he probably knows that his brother gave her the magic. Like he probably knows that like she was like they didn't have this conversation about her having magic. It didn't just sit in like their family knowledge or whatever. Like once it was like broken or whatever, they didn't just like sit around and be like, oh, I don't want to learn more about what happened with her. I'm sure Maria was like, oh, well, if you're gonna be mad at me, you're also gonna be mad at Uncle, whatever. And then he's like, oh, word, and like he's just like disowning everyone who has like I don't think even if the rest of the world doesn't know all the steps, I'm sure he knows that Maria doesn't come by magic like just offhand. Like it was a choice that was made, and it was a choice made by his brother. So like that's also something that it's there's so many parts to this that if they were actually like spend time on that, like the Van Helsing, like I don't care about Van Helsing, but if they were, like it would be interesting to see what the behind the like the door family like things are going on back there.
Yeah, but it just to end this and we get into the next chapter, I think it just like the way this chapter ends leads me to just be like, Lara makes even more sense to me. She is literally like stuck between a rock and a bigot, and like there's no way that doesn't make an unpleasant child.
Also, like I wonder what like her mother gives. Like her, it doesn't seem like her mother gives like anything that's not on the like same line.
I kind of feel like her mom is giving the good wife of like very insular, like keeping her like just smiles through the camera and is like, don't mention it, we don't talk about it. Very like if Lara went to her mom and it's like, Dad's doing, she's like, don't question your father, don't talk to me about this. Like just that's what I like. We don't know, we don't see her, but that's like kind of like The only thing I get from it is that, like, her mom is not a safe space. Her mom is not sticking up for them in publicly or privately. And she's just either happy that, like, her marriage affords her the position that she's in, and that's fine, or she's, like, talking about it as, like, gauche, and we just don't do it. Like, and so she's in denial, or, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if she's just, like, chugging vodka and and going shopping. So I don't know, but you know, we don't know for sure. But that's what I see in my head, is like a tipsy ass mom who's like, leave me alone.
So basically, Helga Pataki's mother is what you're seeing for.
I don't know who that is, but yes.
Oh.
Porshèa looks so sad for me. I'm old, girl. I don't know who that is.
Like, it was like in the 90s.
Oh wait, Helga Pataki, like Hey Arnold?
Yeah.
I don't know Helga's last name.
And yet you were able to associate Hey Arnold with it after a couple of minutes of thought. So Helga. Perhaps you do know Helga's last name.
Because my brain didn't hear Helga Pataki, it heard Helga Pataki. And then my brain separated and heard Helga, and I was like, the only Helga I know is Hey Arnold. That seems right up Portia's alley of a reference.
90s references. But yes.
I still don't remember Helga's mother, though, but sure.
She had mysterious drinks that she always seemed a little bit not together with.
Not mysterious drinks.
She had a cup always in her hand. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I got you. Then yes, that's exactly who I'm seeing.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. While MeUndies can't totally help your love life this Valentine's Day, they can offer you insanely comfy undies and loungewear to buy or gift. MeUndies has so many awesome Valentine's Day prints and styles. Plus, you can match with your partner, friends, or even your pets. This Valentine's Day, give the gift that'll keep them thinking of you and score huge site-wide savings at MeUndies.com/Spotify. That's MeUndies.com/Spotify. MeUndies. Comfort from the outside in.
Here on Wizard Team, it's no surprise that we love books. We also love supporting the independent bookstores.
With our bookshop affiliate link, you can not only get all the books on your TBR, but you can support indie bookstores and B&C at the same time.
And if you're not sure what you want, that ain't no problem. Check out our The Plot Thickens list full of recommendations from none other than Porshèa herself.
Head to www.bookshop.org/shop/BlackNerdsCreate to treat your shelves.
Treat your shelves!
Oh, that's nice. That's clever.
Oh my goodness.
That's clever.
We're so excited to bring you all kinds of nerdy and creative content, but we can't do that without your support.
Becoming a B&C baddie helps us with the general upkeep of our site, upgrade equipment, and invest in the team's creative development.
Go to help out your favorite nerds and stay for cool perks like monthly live streams, behind the scenes, and bonus content, and more. If supporting Black creators sounds like your bag, you can sign up at www.patreon.com/BlackNerdsCreate. All right, so chapter 20. Amari is at dinner. She's sitting there alone. Initially, she looked for Lara to try to tell her the truth of what happened, but she couldn't find her. So she just ended up at dinner, sitting by herself, and trying to be honest. It's one of those things where I hate this for her because she's always trying to just
skate under the radar.
Yeah, but everybody's looking at her and talking about her and all of that, and so she's trying to just kind of be in her own little bubble, but she can definitely feel those eyes and hear the whispers and all that. But then Elsie shows up and sits with her, and she doesn't look mad anymore. She just looks kind of smug. She's I figured this out. Haha. So she passes Amari a note that is essentially in writing. It's basically a contract. If you write it down, it's binding. That says, I, Amari Peters, owe Elsie a favor no matter what. And this is from one of the mini bets that Amari has lost against Elsie, because as we have seen, she's not quick. So they have this discussion about so first Elsie is you have to tell me what's happening, and Amari is kind of explains that she physically can't. She tries to write great game on a piece of paper and like shows Elsie how she can't like physically write those words.
I just want to say that the first time I read this, I was hoping to see that because she wrote that contract before she made the binding agreement with the Great Game, then maybe that previous contract would counteract her. Yeah. I was like, ooh, are we about to see like a contract?
The problem is there's no magic in Elsie's contract because Elsie don't have it. Because if she did, that would have been a great loophole.
Yeah.
But this does at least allow like Elsie kind of realizes that Amari has taken a magical vow, and so she lets up. Like she doesn't push anymore because now she's like, oh wait, okay, you're not playing games and you have done this thing. And now she's just concerned because she's like, what do you mean you're making magical vows of secrecy? Like, are you good? And Amari's kind of like, I have everything under control, even though
she does not.
Did that first challenge. Maria got arrested. Like she don't know what she's doing, but she can't really say anything else, which is the problem. It's like, you know what I mean? That's like, if you tell Elsie, oh no, I'm doing horribly, like, what can Elsie do? Because she can't actually know what's happening. You know what I mean? So I think, on the one side, I do think it sucks that Amari has to like hide that from her friend, but on the other side, it's like there really isn't an alternative in this case.
I feel like
other than to just stress them both out.
Yeah, I feel like there has to be a way for her to be like, I'm in a competition and I need your assistance in figuring out how to win something.
I think it's still too much. Yeah. Like, and I think it's also because she doesn't know what the challenge, like, I think if she knew what the challenges were going to be, she could probably figure out like, okay, I need to practice how to like, I don't know, walk with my eyes closed, right? Like I need to know how to like ignore distractions or whatever. Like if she was allowed to know, but she can't, she doesn't know how to practice or prepare. So it's hard to like ask for help in that case.
But also it's like, but like you could like, I don't know. Coming from the other series that we do not speak of, I just feel like even if you don't know necessarily what is ahead of you, you could be like, do you happen to have anything in your bag of tricks that could be useful to me in some way in some day? Like something.
Yeah, I think the thing is too
vague.
Yeah.
It's too airtight though, like the vow, you know? Like she can't say, "Oh, I'm in a tournament." She can't even write the words "great game." Maybe she could come up with a riddle, but I'm sure it has to do with like intention too, you know what I mean? In terms of like, so yeah, I don't know.
Amari says in like this chapter or the next one too, like one of those, like she is still gonna be keeping secrets, but she's also like she doesn't know if she's gonna come back from the Great Game, like the next challenge or whatever. And so I think that there is also something to like, I'm doing okay or I'm doing fine as like the thing that you also tell yourself. Like,
right.
She's not doing fine. She knows she's not doing fine, but she also is like, just like when she agreed to the Great Game, she's like, and knowing that it would, you know, the possibility of her magic getting taken, and apparently that means death. I don't want to believe it. But anyway, I think that she like has just decided that she's okay. And if she says it with enough conviction, she can convince herself and Elsie. And so she doesn't have like another answer to give because like she can't give another answer. Like, you know what I mean? Like just like mentally, she's like, I have to be okay, so I'm okay. Period. Move on. Like, poor girl.
Yeah. So yeah, now, but anyway, on the short term, good news is they're friends again.
Yay.
No more fighting. So Amari catches Elsie up on Maria because she's out of the loop because she spent her afternoon cleaning up the charcoal slime from all the gadgets. So,
and not that it's surprising that juniors are given that grunt work, but like the fact that like is there like after all this time, sure you haven't figured a way to how to penetrate the Carcoal's like slime, but perhaps you know how to like magically remove it from items, possibly? Like
Right,
why
shield it.
something?
Maybe they do have something, but they can't do it all at once.
Maybe
It was a lot of people who were fighting the thing, so you know what I mean? But either way, it's a terrible job. It does not sound fun at all.
No, which is why it has
like
junior
some
agent
kind of magical properties that Elsie could like squirrel away and use at a later date.
Yeah, same
as compensation.
I hope she has like multiple vials. She's like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, to the lab. So they're talking about that, and then Lara sends Amari like essentially an SOS. She's just like, I need help. Come to my room like right now. So
I'm sorry, but this is also a place where I'm like, she's gotten too trustful, because if you get an SOS from someone who used to be your enemy, you
just let her really talk.
Yeah. And you apparently just sent her sister to jail.
Yeah, you like you're ready to go talk to her.
I would maybe be like
a little bit, just a little suspicious.
At least she brought Elsie.
Yeah.
That's my only like thing with that, is like at least she didn't go alone, but it still wasn't like she just didn't.
No thought.
And maybe it's because she had been looking for Lara before.
Yeah, she's already primed to talk
like,
to her.
Yeah, like maybe that's something that has to do with it.
You can't talk your way out of everything.
Thank you, Shauna. So yeah, so I don't know, but they went. And so like the first thing Amari does when they get to Lara's room is like start to apologize. She's like, I'm sorry. That's what, this isn't what it looks like, whatever. And Lara's like, it's fine. I'm not mad. Maria used her one call to call me and explain like what happened. So I, like I'm caught up to speed, which I do appreciate Maria for doing that. Like, yeah. But also, like, who else was she gonna call? Like, which is a terrible thing to think.
I'm like, but also, does she not have any connects in like a law division or something to like help her out?
No, because it's a supernatural investigations. Who's gonna help her there? Like Magnus, but Magnus and Fiona are dealing with kids in their wedding planning. Like I don't know. I feel like, unfortunately, right? Quentin is still in his coma. Parents disowned her. His brother's a wanted criminal. And
but also like for me, I'm just like, girl, like, because she was part of Vanquish. She would, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have any contacts, you don't have any press, you have no journalists in your pocket, nothing.
But so the thing is like, maybe she does, but it felt kind of more like a looking out for Amari type of thing than it was like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that she knew, especially knowing that they're partners and seeing the way Lara reacted in the whatever, and like knowing that Amari kind of had to make that choice to lie or whatever, like I could see her being like, okay, I want to make this as easy for Amari as possible, knowing that homegirl has like 3 different impossible tasks to complete.
I also think that like time. I think yes, she wants to make it easy for Amari, but I also wonder if it's like, I need to make sure that Lara doesn't try to like do something and get Amari in trouble, because then I will be sent to the sightless deaths. And she probably is using her like vanquishness on whoever is in this outpost in the Arctic, because she's like, at least since I'm at this outpost, I can get some stuff done like quietly while they think that they just shunted me off. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to believe, I can't fully remember, but I'd like to believe that she doesn't just like use this one call to like make sure Amari's okay and then just sits there twiddling her thumbs until it's all over. She's in the like,
thinking of something.
Exactly. A better spy than Amari. Maybe she heard Amari's like attempt to lie and said, let me go help this child out because she is in danger. Meanwhile, the like 4 people watching me and monitoring me in the Arctic, I got them. I'll be running this place in a week, having them think it's their idea to give me access to everything I need. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah,
it's like better for her to stay there.
Yeah,
to get shit done.
You're saying. I just don't feel like Maria's is that she's like, I feel like she's similar to Amari and not having that much range so far, because like she thought that she was on top of the magicians and like having an alliance with what's her face, and I'm like, for why? Like, what reason? What gave you that like illusion?
I still don't know that we've seen enough of Maria yet for me to like fully like have a
read on her
opinion or read on her. Yeah. But I also do wonder too if like there's also the sense of like I kind of also get the sense that she is, well, again, right, she's used to like having resources. She's talked about with like when she was talking about Dylan, just like how she kind of got swept up in the being a celebrity of it all, and now she doesn't really have that, and also she doesn't have Quentin. And I wonder if like them working together was a huge, not that he was doing all the work, but more that like she's used to having somebody to bounce things off of, versus having to kind of like do it on her own and being ostracized. But also like she just gives like young adult trying to seem like she has it all together, but she really doesn't. Like that's kind of how those are the vibes she gives me. So yeah, I don't know. So we get to Lara's room and we find the reason why that she asked for help is because the shade that they took in has wrecked her room. So she's got clothes everywhere, stuff off the walls. Everything is really a mess, and the shade is just kind of like bouncing up high off the ceiling, just, you know, chaos. So Amari and Elsie are like, okay, we can catch it. And Lara's like, look, I done this for a good amount of time. And if y'all want to approach it this way, fine. If y'all want to sit here and look silly, be my guest. But I don't think this is this ain't the move.
I love that they don't listen. She was like, I have supernatural athletic ability. Like literally, right. If anyone should be able to do this, it should be me.
It's me.
Yeah.
And y'all don't have none of this, but okay, go knock yourselves out. And so then they do a whole like, basically it's like very cartoonish, and they're both trying to catch it. They don't do it. At one point they like smack into each other. It's just a mess. And so finally they're like both annoyed kind of that it's not working, and I can't remember which one of them, I think it's Amari, is like, well, you're the genius to Elsie, like figure something out. And Elsie, you know, they finally take a minute to actually think as opposed to just act, and Elsie's like, oh, we should just call Jaden. So she hits Jaden up, and he shows up. And so at first Amari is like, so when did y'all get cool? Because like
I ain't introduced y'all yet.
Yeah. So we find out though that they bonded over being ditched by Amari.
The club name is something that I did this in high school with a friend. I was talking about how like life events were happening in such a way around me that I was like, I feel like the universe is trying to kill me. And I feel like I just happened to dodge it by whatever. I called it Die Porshèa Die. And we were joking about it. And she's like, okay, last day of school, I'm wearing a Die Porshèa Die shirt. You wear the one that's based on like the calamities that she went through. And she was like, you've been giving me weird looks all day. And I was like, it's an inside joke. I don't know what to do with it.
But right, everybody's like, what do you mean by this?
And I feel like Amari abandonment association is like, if like Amari would not like, I feel like it would have gone over better if Amari were part of the joke. Like if it was like Amari is like, yeah, it's me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But she's kind of like,
and she kind of does, like, but I think
the guilt though.
Yeah,
the guilt hits her.
And she and Elsie just got back cool.
Yeah.
So there's like that part of it too, where she's still kind of like in a couple weeks, I think she'll find it funny. But
yeah,
right now it's still
she's like, it's too soon.
So she's just like,
I'm trying my best.
But it is cute that they were just like, look, our girl ditched us, but we got each other.
It's an association at this point.
Yeah, we gang. So Jaden comes in and he immediately calms the shade. He's just like, hey dude, come here. And the shade's like, oh,
what's up?
But also like this shade is adorably just like having fun. This is like, hey, it's like whenever they tell you not to chase after dogs because they feel see is like as play, and the shade is like, oh, we just playing. Okay, all right, I can do that.
Can I just tell you like how annoying it is to have a dog take off and think that they're just playing. And you have to I just had this with the foster Coco, where I had to use Luna to go get her a few times, because at least Luna will I have Luna on voice command. Luna ran home the first week I got her, just in the middle of the street, and I was like, well, that's it, she's dead. I've won the prize for shortest time taking care of a living being, because I got her on Monday, she died on Wednesday. But it is so annoying to be following because they're quicker than you just on GP. You don't have 4 legs. Yeah. You're just never gonna outrun them. And then to have someone come by while you were ripping your hair out, and then they'll be Ch-ch. And then the dog is oh, you cool. And you're
mm-hmm. Are you serious?
I understand.
Are you serious?
I understand so much the annoyance that they're feeling with Jaden just being hey, yo.
They're just
what up?
They're hey, little dude, come on.
Yeah.
And he's
it's just that
calm
easy.
down, yeah?
Yeah.
He names it.
He's Shadow.
His name is, he's what's up, Shadow? They're wait, huh? And, this is his magical ability, which is why they called him. But I think they thought it was going to take more than that.
Yes. It was going to at least
they definitely thought he was going to have to.
You had to work at it.
He's right. Be it's an episode of The Dog Whisperer where it's okay, now you have to establish alpha command. And then you got to be
right.
Okay. He's nah.
He's nah, just come on. Let's go. Let's calm down. So it's very cute. Honestly. And then in that, somehow they're now a new investigation squad. They were you know what? I think Elsie's are we adding more to the team? Amari's I guess so. So now the 4 of them are trying to for Lara at least, it's easy to try to figure out this time freeze, because it means getting her sister off. I think Jaden is just there because Amari's his girl, and he's just I'm learning. I'm just in this world, but
I think he also says something about deportation, or I'm
yeah,
he has a thing about it, but it's also I love that Jaden is I'm gonna be working in what I'm really excited about creature control and all this stuff, but it's kind of learning Amari, you just signed me up to be a cop? What the fudge? So yeah, I'm gonna do whatever I can to
I think it's that. And also in the same way that Amari came into this world and immediately learned, and I think also more directly than Jaden learned the bad sides of the Bureau very quickly, he's also learning it just as quickly, right? He's finding out, he gets there, he's learning about Amari being a magician and that being illegal and all this other stuff happening, and is seeing all this stuff happening around him. Like you said, he's having a great time doing what he's doing, but I think that
he's I've seen this before.
The parallels between the parallels between this world and the known world are very clear. And so yeah, it makes sense for him to be okay, nah. So yeah, so now we got a little gang.
I love it.
So they I also love them because first they're Lara's okay, we're gonna have to take this seriously. We have to figure out how we're gonna learn more about the time freeze. Harlow has already wiped or confiscated a lot of the information around it, and no one's allowed to investigate, so we have to figure out a way in. And so Jaden kind of jokingly is what, we're gonna break into the Supernatural World Congress? And Amari is aha, yes! That's a great idea. That's exactly what we're gonna do.
Actually, we didn't have any plans, but now that you say that,
that's the one. That's the one. You're smart. You're very smart. And I just know Jaden was wait,
He was like, I was
sorry.
I thought I said the most non-thought thing, and that's
on top of the fact that it's like, one, they're kids. Two, is that even possible to do? Like, there's so many different steps to it.
He said
and
it because he thought it was impossible. Done. Like he clearly said it because he was like, "There's no way this is."
But also, even if it was possible, we're not dumb enough to do it.
To try it.
To try it. Exactly. Nah.
We could get in, but how do we get out? And
he's thinking too highly of Amari and her skills of planning. He's got a pedestal for her, and it's just like, bro, dial it back a little bit, pull back.
I feel like that Amari was like, you know what, we can get in, we can do it.
Yeah, we can do it. And it turns out that they can. So the Supernatural World Congress is below the Georgia State House. It's highly regulated in terms of like who can come in and out for obvious reasons. But Lara is like, which again, this brings it to the she's doing the same thing Dylan was doing in the sense of like, oh, my dad has access to that. I got you. I'm gonna grab this transporter. He won't notice it's gone.
I also love that is still an option because you would think that Van Helsing would tighten up.
Right.
No.
Lara's like,
but apparently not.
We're not really getting along right now, but give me a minute. Like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And also, like, I could see, because he's like disowned Dylan and Maria, she's talked about like the pressure that she's feeling about that, but that also like has to garner some privileges, right? Like, at least you're not a magician, so sure, take my spare transporter. What do you need it for? Don't need to know.
You said,
you know what I mean? Or if she takes it and like you notice, you're like, oh, my bad, Dad, I went on a shopping trip or whatever, and he'd be like, all right, cool. So yeah, the fact that that's still a viable option is funny, but we're about to use it. You know what I mean?
You know?
So they decide that Elsie is gonna keep like doing research. She said she has a couple of leads that she had already like found. She's gonna like pursue those. Jaden's gonna find a place for them to meet up because they can't really keep meeting in Lara's room without like causing like suspicion or like Bertha popping up. And then Amari and Lara are gonna break into the Supernatural World Congress, and they're gonna try to do it in the next like 2 to 3 days.
Easy.
No big deal.
Bring that one back. Easy peasy,
bro. Easy peasy. Amari's like
I heard about this girl Bree, and it worked out for her. She did get mauled by a hellhound, but other than that, it all worked out in the end.
It all worked out in the end, sort of. Did it?
It's funny because it's kind of like Amari and Bree are similar. Like there's some similarities, like main character energy kind of thing, but also it's like similar in that like plans. If you give me an idea that I can say is a plan, then that's the plan. Like that's we don't gotta work too hard to make no plans. We just this is the idea, and we're just gonna make that one idea happen.
Vibes and audacity.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all you need.
100%. So that's the plan. Amari's hoping that they can get through it faster than a couple of days because, of course, she's still in the great game. And there's this moment, we already kind of mentioned it before, but like she has this like squad and these people to help her on like one side, which I think makes her feel good. But on the other side, she's still keeping the secret about the great game from all of them and can't like ask for their help in that. So she's hoping that the faster they find out about the time freeze, or at least handle these tasks and meet, the faster they can like stop the great game. But you know, she could be called away at any moment. So yeah.
And we start chapter 21 with Amari doing the great reader's rite of passage, which is doing an all-nighter by use of a soft light so that you're not alerting anyone else to the fact that you're staying up all night.
I don't know what you're talking about, Porshèa. I've never done such a thing. Never.
I feel like that's the only way you can, you know, claim your spot on the reader's wheel of time, you know, is to go through the passage.
You put the blanket over your head.
Yeah.
And you're just like trying to make it work. And then you hear something in the back in the hallway and you're like
Freeze. Click the thing off.
I was just thinking about this because, so I'm not about to bust Ami out, but there was Ami pulled that thing.
She did that one time. I was so mad.
But she wasn't reading. She pulled it at my house, but she wasn't reading.
Oh.
Yeah. But I was thinking about it because she was on an iPad, and I was like, if I would have had a Kindle or an iPad,
nobody would have ever caught me.
Would have been done.
Well, first off, I was like, thank God, because one, no one would have ever caught me, but also I would have never gotten no sleep. I remember when the Hunger Games, when I was reading the Hunger Games, this is so stupid of me. I was reading Catching Fire, and then like Mockingjay had just come out, but I was like rereading Catching Fire, or maybe I was just reading them. I can't really remember like the timeline, but they were all of them were out. And I straight up, I was an adult at this point, so like they couldn't really tell me shit. But did I get up in the middle of the night and make coffee so I could finish the second book? I sure as hell did.
So you were trying to get caught.
No, I'm saying I was an adult because it was Hunger Games.
Oh, she was an adult by then.
I was an adult by then. So they like I think my dad did, like I was at my parents' house. I think my dad did come down because he goes to work at a ridiculous time in the morning. My dad starts work at like 4, so he leaves at like 3, something like that. And he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Mind your business. We're in the Capitol. It's going down." But I was like, I would have been. Yeah. I'd have been, but it would have been terrible because I would have been so under like no sleep.
Yeah.
I'd have been crazy. I'm crazy if I don't get like the right amount of sleep. If I go like multiple days pulling all-nighters or like not getting the right amount of sleep, it is weird. Y'all don't want to be there. Like, I understand why like sleep deprivation is like torture. And I do it to myself, but like, whew.
Yeah, I feel like, I do remember one time Ami did the actual, like, the reading thing, and I was so mad at her because I was like, no, why would you have me be the person to tell you to go to sleep?
How dare you?
Like, I wasn't even mad that she did it. I was just mad that she made me.
You had to be
put me in that position.
Heavy.
I was just like, bro, why? Go to sleep.
My thing too with this, because we're gonna see with Amari too, is that like this is how you know that kids' brains are not fully developed. Because I mean, can I say that I just told the story about me as a full adult making coffee to do an all-nighter? This is how you know that humans are just not. We are the top of the food chain, but we shouldn't be. Like, we're just not looking out for our best interest because like. The consequence is so known and so immediate. Like, why would you do this, Amari?
I feel like it's just like prioritizing, right? It's like you choose to prioritize that over, like, you know, it's gonna hit you. You know, it's gonna be an immediate recoil. There's gonna be this is the cause. That's gonna be the effect. But you deemed it worth it. Like, you're like, it's worth it.
And I think it's like even funnier because she also has a really she's already determined with Elsie that they're gonna get up early,
that was what she said.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, you can't try this any other night. Any other night.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but also I get it in the sense that like she's trying. She doesn't know when the next challenge is coming.
Her desperation and anxiety is just like she has to do everything immediately. But like, so in this moment she's using her Elsie's sneak candle, which keeps the light 3 feet away. It doesn't, like, no one 3 feet away can see the light at all. And she's using it to learn, not for fun, which is what I feel like we all were using. Like, we were reading books like novels. We were not reading like a textbook under light. Like, that was not what we were doing. So it's even funnier and sadder at the same time that her desperation has her trying to read a book at night, not for fun, but so she can try not to die the next time she's called in for this challenge. Like, it's just really sad, but also rite of passage. Yes.
I think that like it's really sad, but it's also like I did this in college when it also my fault because I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD, but like, come on now, Robyn, I would wait. And it would be like, this is if you don't turn this in, you fail. So I get that, like, that fear, even, I mean, your life and failing are completely different things, but like that fear of like, I don't know when this, you know, like, I don't have that much time, I guess. So yeah, poor Amari.
Yeah.
Okay, Amari, you're right. Your priorities are in order. Yes, you're right. Okay.
It's just, she's in a sad situation. It's just the circumstances are crappy for her. And it doesn't help that the first spell that she's attempting is tied to her last encounter with wind, which was during the last challenge where she had the whispering wind. And so she's just already like not in a good headspace to like try to put herself into this position to try to work with wind. And then
that had just happened earlier that day. Like all of this happened in one day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's technically probably like midnight now, so it's the next day.
Yeah, but like, I just mean like, it literally like she had
hours.
the deportation, the Great Game Challenge, class with Maria getting arrested, and then the shade thing was all in the same day.
Give my girl a break.
She ain't got it. She ain't got any time. So her and also the fact that she does not, like, it's not intuitive to her in a way that she feels like illusion is intuitive to her. So like it's telling her that she needs to like become one with the wind, feel the wind, be the wind. And she's like, I don't know what that means. I do not get it.
She's also like sleep deprived too. So it's like, I need you to like to spell this out. Like, I don't know.
But she honestly really needs an instructor. She just can't like, So when she finally does like get some probably just like fell to sleep sometime during all this, the next thing we see of her is running to the cafeteria with Elsie, because they decided to wake up early to go, and Elsie doesn't explain exactly what the plan is, but she knows what she's doing, because she's like, we're gonna be here early to try to take care of this. And then she uses like some like TV cop terms, like we're on the case, and making all these like Law and Order like usage of stuff. And basically what she's doing is using Amari as bait to get the person that she wants to interview, Arthur, who is like the president of the fan club, of the Vanquish fan club, to give her what they need for their investigation of the time. And Amari, I don't know why she didn't just clue in Amari to what they were doing, but oh well. So but she's using case speak. She's like, oh, the witness, like we need you to like be ready for the witness and all this stuff. And when she actually gets to introduce Arthur to Amari, he says, I mean, I didn't think, I mean, sure, Elsie promised, but I just never imagined you're really her. and it's so funny. It's so funny how Amari's just like, yeah, I'm me, and but she's also like, I'm not anyone, and Elsie's like, she is totally someone.
That's her.
And it's like, what?
It's both the like, this scene is so funny because it's just like Amari's getting a inside look into fandom that she really didn't need.
Yeah. It's like, it would be one thing if it was like a fandom that's like related to a TV show or whatever that she just wasn't watching, but it's like about her and like her brother.
Yeah,
it's really weird. Like I cannot imagine like you find out about a whole fandom related to people like yourself and your brother.
I mean, and I think it's. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like, it's so interesting the like line that Elsie walks to.
Yeah,
she's like, isn't she like a triple platinum member or whatever? But it's just like she's all of this and has the full like, she knows the lore and the woo-doo, but then she's also like
the lore equals her actual life. The lore equals Amari. It's like, it's so strange.
It's so interesting.
I think it's like really funny because we talked about like when she kind of finds out about Quentin and how like that sibling shows up where she's like, that dude, him who like was scared to like do anything, or, you know, she just sees him as like a nerdy, like she loves him and she looks up to him and she wants to like make him proud of her and stuff like that. But she also sees the not cool parts of him that like, you know, probably these other people don't know. So it's really hard. Like I was hanging out with my brother and my niece the other day, and like the way that my niece like loves my brother and just gets super excited and like it's like daddy, and I'm like, that dude. So I'm trying to teach her to call him Brandon. It's funny.
Stop it.
It's so funny. She's like, we'll be like, who's that? Mama, who's that? Auntie, who's that? Dada. No, BJ. Brandon. That dude. Dada is someone you're supposed to look up
younger
to.
Sibling. That's some younger sibling.
Dada is someone you're supposed to look up to. Dada is someone you're supposed to respect. Brandon, please. It's weird.
She's not you. You're not her.
It's weird.
Y'all have different relationships with that man. Yes, you've seen
so
him pick
funny.
boogers and flick them somewhere.
At
She doesn't
me.
need to know that yet.
At me. Wet Willie. He had a temper tantrum because I turned off his Game Boy. No, you cannot respect that man. What?
She doesn't hold that relationship with him.
He will buy you stuff though.
She has a different relationship with him.
He will buy you
than
stuff.
you do. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny. So it's one thing that I caught was that like whenever and I like the way that Arthur is talking of her. It's very nice and like admirable. He's not being creepy. Is that he's talking about Amari. Like imagine coming to the bureau and having to fill those big shoes, talking about Quentin being one of the best agents of all time, but she's doing it. She's amazing. And it's not lost on me that he's using the same adjective, like how like Quentin's passport is Amari amazing. And he's using the same terms that Quentin would speak about Amari to Amari herself. So I'm sure that kind of like filled something in her heart where she's just like, okay, all right, he's not like this boy can't be that bad if he's calling me amazing, you know?
Right.
And maybe Quentin,
he stands.
Personality is like rubbing off on the fans that are like looking up to him some way.
But also, she gonna do what she need to do to get what she need. And if it is to let this boy think that she is Amari amazing, even if she doesn't feel Amari amazing, fine.
Yeah. And I love that for her because she's like, that's what I'm saying. Why didn't Elsie just tell her like, okay, I need you to play along, just go along with whatever. But she does. And so what the craziest part to me of the situation of the fandom is that like, in order for them to get the intel they need, Elsie plays off of Arthur's need to be the ultimate fan or whatever, and is like using like, oh, well, if you let us get into your department, it's the Department of Time Management, then maybe
first of all,
Amari, I wrote that down on my notes, but Amari, she's like, maybe Amari can give you an autograph, and Amari was like, and whenever he looks doubtful, like that isn't enough, Amari's like, or I could take a photo with you and also post it on my ERG page. And then he's like, okay, now we're going somewhere. And that's
now we could go
now we're going somewhere with that. And
I also love though that like in 2 chapters beforehand, Harlow tells her like, you're an influencer, you're a star, people love you, you're the good magician. And Amari's like, I'm an influencer, I got clout, let's use it. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I think she was just like, I know what I would like if I were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's like, I know what to give. So another part of this is that he's talking to her about like, he's like 2 conditions. One is that photograph with Amari. The other one is that Elsie has to admit that he's the biggest Vanquish fan ever instead of Elsie. And he says that Amari is basically Vanquish or whatever, and like calls her part of Vanquish 2.0, which makes Amari shudder because that's what Dylan called them. And then Elsie and Arthur get in this weird like fan debate in front of Amari about like 2.0 versus 2.5 because of her and Laura versus her and Dylan. And Amari's like, none of this, please, like no. And then that's how we learn that whenever Harlow set up Amari to be the one who takes the fall for alerting them to Maria practicing magic within the bureau, a lot of the Vanquish fans were like pissed off about that or whatever, pissed off at Amari. But then Elsie stepped in with her platinum level 10 platinum fan status and said what she had to say, and everybody believed her because of her level 10 platinum fan status, which again, I just don't know how Amari's not like, and what she sweetly says is one of her proudest achievement, like it wants to go on her tombstone. But I'm like, that's gotta be freaky. That like my friend is a platinum fan with enough clout to tell other fans what to believe about me, and I didn't know this. I
wonder if she's a platinum fan because she's friends with Amari, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think she's been talking about like she's like the number one Vanquish fan or whatever before. Like, she told Amari that like
when they
first met. But I think she probably got a little more like I don't know that it's like it is clout sort of, but I think it's also like she's like Amari's spokesperson in the fandom. Which is like, it's weird.
I'm like, what do you have to do to attain that though? I'm like, are you writing fan fiction that I don't know about? Like, what are we doing? What's happening?
But it's weird, but again, I think it's interesting though, because it feels to me like Elsie, of course, still like stands like Vanquish, but as far as it is for Amari, it feels more like she's using that as just another place to look out for her, if that makes sense.
I see it, but
it's a weird line.
There's no way. Yeah, there's no way you can't be a little like, what's happening? What's going on?
I think because Amari makes fun of Elsie about it, it's just like a thing in which, I mean, this kid is sitting in front of them, but I feel like Amari is like, I'm gonna save this piece of information. And like, it's not the last time you're going to hear about this, Elsie. And I think that it's one of those things because we're on a mission, but like because Quentin is still in a coma or magical coma, like she hasn't got to meet Quentin. I honestly do feel like Amari's like, as soon as y'all actually meet this boy, all of that shit will go out the window. Like, yeah, you are Vanquish's biggest fan, whatever. You haven't actually met Quentin. As soon as I introduce you to Quentin, it'll be fine. Because I remember like having friends who would have like crushes on like my brother and my like their friend, and they want to come over or whatever, or they'd be asking me about, and I'd be like, you know what, come over to the house. Just come on over. Because ain't no way you gonna see this boy in his natural habitat, and that fandom is going to survive. Like, and if it does, that's when we need to rethink this whole relationship between you and I. But until I witness you meet him and see that starstruckness die, I'm just gonna use it as fodder to make fun of you. I feel like that's where Amari's at with the Vanquish fandom. Like, you don't know this boy. It's all right.
And, you know, Elsie has kept her away from it for the most part. We saw it during the fair thing. And I don't remember if that was Arthur or if it was somebody else.
I think it was Arthur.
Elsie was like, Elsie was like, look, you don't even want to.
Don't even go over there.
You don't even want to.
And I think that Elsie also has like a reasonable embarrassment about it with Amari. That is like, okay, at least you're not a lost cause completely.
At least, as long as she's not like taking clippings of Amari's hair while she's sleeping.
Exactly.
And, like, putting it on.
She's still treating like
version of eBay.
Yeah, she's still able to like get mad at Amari, to tell Amari what's what. She's not treating her special. I mean, special in like they're best friends, but like Amari feels confident that she's friends with Amari because of Amari and not because of her brother. I think.
Yeah. And I think part of that also comes from them having that conversation like immediately, as opposed to it being something that she kind of hides from Amari. And they've been through a lot at this point that like, it's like, okay, you wouldn't be doing all this just to meet Quentin. Like,
I'm just saying, when they have a moment of not being in the middle of something, I would need to be like, oh no, Elsie, no, seriously, I just need you to tell me
double this back.
What you've been doing as a fan. Like, how does one attain level 10 platinum? Is just give me some insight there.
I mean, I do agree that is. But I was like, what is level 9?
It's weird, but I would say in my head, the way that I thought about it is that she got that status because she's Amari's friend and not the other way around.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I need to know what came before. Well, I just need to know that's okay. So then what's happening next is that so they agree that they're gonna have this exchange. I don't think that Elsie actually has to admit that Arthur's a bigger fan. Even though Amari's trying to get her to, they just end up having that ramble about stuff and actually getting on with the mission, that they don't she doesn't have to concede to Arthur, which is hilarious. I love that Elsie was just nope, not even gonna touch that. And they make their way towards the Department of Time Management, which apparently is on a restricted floor that no one knows about. It's not even cataloged in the book about the Bureau. And in order to become part of the department, you have to be invited. And Arthur is invited because he just happens to have a magical ability, which is the ability to tell time without a clock, which doesn't sound that interesting, but it's useful. And that gets him into the department. Useful. And so whenever I heard about the description of the Department of Time Manager, I was like, I'm like, this is the department for Bayana. This is where
I don't know why or how I forgot that this department exists.
Because it's a secret.
No. But maybe, yeah.
I mean, yeah. No, I'm saying
you close the book and then you forget that it exists. It just goes away. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, is that what it is? Because but again, I've only read this book once, so it usually takes more time for details to stick with me. But when I read it, it made me excited all over again. I was like, oh, as if I had never read it before.
You're like, wait a minute now.
I said, hold up. Of course this is the Department of Time Management. This is the supernatural world.
But I do.
No, it just is it's just cool.
Don't be mad at me. I feel like it's a kind of a boring department.
You would think.
I mean, we could get into I don't know that.
I mean, if something goes on, right now, there's a time freeze, so maybe. But
I think by design, it's supposed to seem you don't want it to seem interesting. You don't want people invested with being managing time. You don't want people to have their hands on time like that,
or to be they don't do tryouts.
Yeah.
They're not, you know what I mean? They're just dude is
it's a department of 2 people.
Yeah.
Right. And he went up to that kid on the Slender. He didn't have no presentation.
Yep.
He just was
He's just
hey,
you come on.
You might wanna come with me.
Come on.
Let's just see what's up.
And it's interesting to it's very suspicious that this is there's a time freeze happening. It's a major magical calamity, and that Bane has sent this director off, and he has not been seen since.
It's so suspicious.
It's very, very
everything suspicious. You find out is extremely just things shenanigans are afoot. Clearly,
yeah. There's implications. And the implications are not good.
It's just what do you mean you sent away? It's there's a time freeze, and you don't have the Department of Supernatural Investigations investigating. You don't have the Department of Magical Science looking for any clues or gadgets or whatever to fix it, and you sent away the only person who could have real knowledge about the freeze
or how to assist with moving time to
right. Nobody else is thinking, oh, where's Director Wynn? Nobody.
Because again, how many people know about Director Wynn because it's a restrictive department? Right. So how do you actually know that that's someone they could call on?
It's just all of it is fishy.
So the way to get into the Department of Time Management is very time forward, because you have to set the clock to 11:59 and then wait until time moves forward to 12, and then the clock face will open as a door and let you into a room that is basically the Temple of Time. I do not accept the other name for this. It is simply the Temple of Time.
What is the other name for it?
It's dumb. It's just
what is the other name for it?
Clocks.
Say it again.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's Temple of Time. So The way the Temple of Time works is that it's like basically a monitoring system that like if there's all the big clocks you see in different cities, like their main clock, like Big Ben or whatever, those are the actual timekeepers for those cities. So if something goes wrong with those clocks, then you know something is wrong within that city. And so it's like you're basically like, if you're looking at that room and you notice that, then you like know something's wrong. And so I love this premise and setup. And I'm like, what else could this like monitoring system be used for? Like, I feel like there's so many like devious things that could happen if you were like to like mess with the time that this wall represents.
Right. And like, I'm also curious just like what they're, because I guess part of the thing is like you hope nothing happens. And like, if it does, like, then what do you do? Who are you calling? Who, you know what I mean?
And how
like,
big does a disturbance
I wonder what
be?
other departments. Yeah, and I wonder what other departments they work closely with.
Yeah, like it has to possibly be like the prophecy ones too. Like if like is time working relative to what they prophesized or whatever.
Oh yeah, like good.
But can they tell them that they're or who knows about? Does everyone?
I would assume the directors do.
The directors, I'm assuming, do too as well. But I'm saying, like, does anyone
I assume
do like regular workers, like not just junior agents, but like full agents? Once you're like an adult and working full time at the bureau, do they know about it?
Do you know?
Or does it have to be
what I
need-to-know
kind
basis?
Of assume
Yeah.
that is, I think it's a need to know basis. I also kind of assume that if you got to bring in the director of time management, it's at a director level at that point. You know what I mean? Like it's already, it's a crisis.
It's only a team of two, so it's like there's no one else. You're not.
It's only a team of two, but also like you shouldn't need them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like they shouldn't need you. And at the point that they need you, it's already like way high up that like junior agents and maybe even some senior agents wouldn't need to know. I'm sure it's a lot of just like high ranking folks just as the nature of what they do. But yeah,
there's also
and also I get in the sense too, like you don't want people to know where this is. You don't know. You don't want them to know that it exists because you don't want anybody busting into the room of like the department and messing stuff up.
Yeah, the master clock especially has, because if you know someone is reckless enough in the bureau to do this and you don't want anyone near the master clock, which apparently has like a note on it that says that stopping the hands on the clock could cause the planet itself to stop spinning. And each one of them, Amari, Elsie, and Arthur, are like, yeah, nah, never is there an opportunity where I want to like chance that. Like, oh, is this prophet? Like, I feel like it's like the respect you should have for like the tombs where like mummies and like have been entombed and everything. Like there's notes and stuff like, don't open this, or like a calamity like the world has not seen will be upon the world for thousands of years. Why chance it? Why even chance it? And yet people do it anyway. And I feel like this is exactly what would happen with the master clock should anyone just like be able to walk into this department.
I would love to say I would not touch it. I have impulse control issues, though. So I definitely shouldn't be allowed in there. Because the temptation shouldn't be, you know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't be put in the position to be tempted to do it. Reasonable me is saying, I wouldn't do that. That's stupid. Why would I do that? But if I'm in the room and it says don't touch it, or it says like the earth will stop or whatever, I'm like, well, what does that look like though? And if I just real quick, it'll be all right. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know. No.
I'm just saying.
You would be one of the people who would open a mummy's tomb. And I'm not doing, no. No.
Don't think I would open a mummy's tomb because I feel like we know what would happen. I've seen
if you have impulse control
stories. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people, like we talked about this. I'm one of those people who learns from other people's mistakes. I don't need to make the mistake myself. Right? So I know that we've seen that story.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know.
But you haven't seen the time stories.
Exactly. There isn't.
No, thank you.
I mean, in game, kind of, but it all worked out.
No.
And, like they said in Endgame, like, time is funny. Like, there's, like, all these different movies don't actually tell you what it actually is, because that's not really time stuff.
It's not worth the risk.
You know? I feel like every type of mummy movie, you know. And also, like, I feel like I'm Black, like the ancestors, I don't fuck with them, right? And like, I just feel like I know what would happen if I fucked with like a mummy's tomb.
I love that Kashana is with us and saying that we gotta handcuff Robyn while she's in a bureau because she should not be.
I can't believe you're making us be cops, Robyn.
Yeah, like how
you would have to, because I just don't. What do you think would happen? I feel like maybe if you guys gave me a plausible,
just a lie.
Yeah, just lie to me, but make it believable. I mean, give me your best guess.
I just feel like we gotta put you in some.
What does
like
that mean? Those, time stop.
Those traps where you like stick your fingers together and you just can't move.
Freeze?
Oh yeah,
we gotta put those traps on your hands, and you just can't. You're just not gonna be able to do anything with your hands. It's fine.
Kishana said Robyn cannot come to my lab.
But the reason you have biosafety precautions is because you know what would happen if you didn't.
You don't know because you haven't seen it. You haven't seen the stories.
But I've seen, like, what is that? Like Infection or whatever, or like that, like those movies. I know I haven't seen them because I'm a scary baby, but like I know, you know, and then like I've lived through COVID. Like I don't need to test that. I'm not interested in what like a worldwide pandemic would do. What does it mean that like time stops? Is it that we are all experiencing a time freeze at once and then we start it again and it just keeps going? Is it like the butterfly effect? What does it mean?
No.
You know, I think that.
And listen, Kashana, I don't appreciate
Director
this.
Wren wouldn't have come to ask you to be a part of the Department of Time, and you would never have to find out.
You would never be in that position. Nope.
I feel like life was easier before I knew that was like a question that wasn't answered.
I just feel like you need to read more or watch more sci-fi stories with time. Maybe if you see other answers.
But this is the thing. There's so many different.
But that's what I'm saying. You just need more.
There's so many different theories. There is one theory for what happens if you fuck with a mummy, which is all hell breaks loose. The mummy comes out. It wants retribution.
Oh my gosh.
It's one outcome.
I think we need to cut this off.
I just feel like
I just need to
time stopping may not be that bad of a thing.
No, we're not going to wander down that line of thought. So before we get more into like the mission, I just want to take a moment and question: is Elsie an elite gambler / bookie in the making? Because let's go back to the beginning of this book.
Yes.
She set up Amari for this like shoddy shot kind of like con thing. Amari could not come down.
Kingpin.
She basically like she had another wager, not a full wager, but she basically was like she made good on her promise to get the club that's the fortunes or whatever, and she's like taking note of those fortunes. And then here she is whenever she learned about Arthur's ability and the department that he belonged to, because he told her or that he gave her his super rare, still in the box, Junior Agent Edition Quentin Peters action figure. So I'm like, this girl,
she's that genius mastermind.
But gambling
is supposed to be in Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Like she's like in the gamble business in particular. That I'm like,
I'm saying she is like, Kingpin. Like she's like, she can do odds really quickly. She can. I just think I don't know. I wouldn't. I mean, hopefully Amari learns now, because like at the beginning of this or the last chapter, she slapped a IOU bet. Like, tell me, you know,
she's like never make me everything Elsie that you don't want to live.
Nah,
by.
just don't even do it.
She's like
don't make a bet with
Elsie
her.
A fae? Is that why Robyn likes her? Does she move like a fae? And that's why Robyn is with her.
Maybe it's
her weird dragonness.
Yeah,
you know,
just collecting secrets like gold.
That's her hoard, or the secret.
The secret.
Man, exactly, the secrets.
Okay, So, they find a small room that has like, because it's so sad. It's like dusty. There's just like scrolls and like books just all over the place. And they're like, how are we supposed to find something in here? And Arthur's like, my bad. There's just a department or two, so we really just like work around each other's mess. And it's like, that's sad. Why are we in this state? No organization.
Also, like y'all don't have like a cleaning day.
There's no bot. You don't have
no bookshelves.
There's no bot or magic that can just be used to help you organize.
It's
things.
only him in there right now, so it's like you couldn't take a day and just be like,
right.
What is he doing? If he's a junior, what are they called? Timekeepers or something? If he's a junior or whatever.
It sounds like he's doing research because he's part of the like load of past.
Yeah,
him
but
reading.
It's like you could take a day. It's clearly like self-directed, independent study because he's the only one here. But also, I'm also just curious, like what their job, like what
is their day-to-day,
what their job entails. Yeah, that he could just be doing that on his own, knowing that he's the only person who has access to this place. Like, yeah.
But the room is in such a mess and disarray that, and they're looking through stuff, puts Amari in like she's overwhelmed. She's like, I just need a restroom break. So she goes and leave it to her to, while she's on a restroom break, to actually stumble into, and it's funny, she like literally stumbles into, like she's trying to look in the door and then stumbles in the door to the director's office. And she checks out his room, and there happens to be like a manuscript of him writing the second volume to the book that they were reading in the main room, called Titans of Time, Volume 2, Swindlers and Scams. Frauds and hoaxes ranging from stupidly simple to extraordinarily elaborate, by the director, whose name is Timothy Wynn, which his last name being Wynn is great.
I love it.
I love it so much. And basically, the entry that she sees is about the Knight brothers, specifically about their encounter with Thomas Fletcher, who was a disgraced werewolf who claimed that his werewolf pack caught Vladimir and Moreau in a surprise attack, and they would have succeeded in capturing them both had Moreau not stopped time and frozen the entire pack in place. The spell supposedly had no effect on Moreau and Vladimir, so they were able to escape. And this freaks Amari out because she also was immune to the time freeze, and so she's like, oh crap, like is this related to like my magic related to the Knight brothers magic? And my question too, is it that she's actually, I don't know that she's making like a big thought in her head, like, oh, this is directly connected, that my magic is connected to their magic because like they were also born magicians. Maybe that's the thing she's thinking about. But like, for me, it's like, maybe it's that once you get to a certain level of magic, like Amari's like 100 level magic and they were like 50, 60, whatever level magic. Once you hit a certain level of magic, perhaps that makes you immune. But we also haven't seen how the time freeze affected other magicians of different levels of magic. So we don't really know if immunity is available for all magicians, blanket, or just like, well, it seems like no one else has mentioned being immune to the time freeze besides like Amari, so we don't really know. But yeah, I guess that's just like some.
Well, it also could be like distant. So they were headed to the museum, right? I don't know where that is in relation to like
they were in
Congress,
Atlanta.
but they're in Atlanta. The Congress is in Atlanta, right? Or no?
It's under Georgia.
And I think it was just a citywide time freeze. Yeah. So I don't think, or like, I don't think it was like bigger than, or maybe the statewide time freeze, but it wasn't like.
But there's other magicians in the region, like. So.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, I don't know, but I mean, I think
but
really Maria would be the only one. It would be
Maria, right? Like, she would be the only one that would know. And where was Maria actually when the time freeze? You know what I mean? Like, there's like a lot of things that we will never know. I will just say though, as we were saying this, BB Alston setting this in Atlanta seemed cool, but I'm supposed to believe that the Magical Congress meets in Atlanta, Georgia.
Whenever they said that, I was like, there's a world Congress in Atlanta,
Georgia.
Convenient. But like, also they can teleport, so it doesn't have to be that convenient. Like, it could be anywhere because they can teleport.
Atlanta does have a really good hub airport.
It's the bureau though, so I could, but I think it's the bureau. It's not like she's at like, and it's the main bureau, so I could see those two things being close versus like the offshoots in other countries, you know?
I get it, but I don't like it because it's the world. Like, why would I choose Atlanta, Georgia, when I could be anywhere in the world?
It's so humid.
Like, ugh. But it's not even that. It's the fact that, like, it's Atlanta. Like, you just go, like,
gosh.
you don't have to try to be in Atlanta. You just be in Atlanta. You can have to, like, it takes effort to be elsewhere.
But maybe that's why.
Maybe it is.
It's a lot of people coming through, so maybe they just don't want, you know what I mean? Also, I don't know.
And that's it. That's chapter 21.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so who was your MVP?
I made Amari my MVP. I think that she does a good job of taking in all of this information, making she's not quick on her defeat when it comes to deception, but she is quick on her feet when it comes to like making decisions and like a plan, you know. Oh, Jaden's here. He's gonna find us a good, like, I know that not all of that came from her, but she just was like, Jaden's here, Laura's here, this is the new crime fighting team or investigative team. And so I respected that. I respected like how she handled herself under pressure. And then like her immediate reaction to like her fight with Elsie was like, fine, we'll just be in a fight. It keeps her safe. But then when she was like, Elsie's not going to really give up. And she's actually going to sit here and like listen to me tell her like why I can't tell her, which like Elsie wasn't doing the first time, you know? Then she's like, all right, we back at it. The team's back together again. So Amari.
I said Elsie, for one being like, you know, she wanted to make up with Amari sooner than they did. So being like determined to like figure out what's happening with her, and also for like backing off when she realizes like what's going on for real. Also for, you know, she's got stuff in the works. Like Amari, not that Amari hasn't had stuff in the works, because I feel like Amari has had to just be reacting a lot. But it has given Elsie time to plan and figure things out. And also she didn't stop her investigation just because she and Amari were like in a fight. So like kind of it was nice to kind of see one of her like plans or her like leads pan out. Even though she had to, you know, use some very weird like a weird way to get there, but she got there. And we also got to see the Department of Time Management, which is tight. So Elsie.
So I was initially leaning towards Arthur, but I couldn't credit Arthur for his involvement because I was really Elsie, and that the only person who really sincerely had a plan throughout this all was Elsie. And it was like a long-ranging plan because she had to like set up her association with Arthur. Like when she learned what department he was in, I'm sure that hit her in her head like, oh, like one day I'm going to be able to like come back to this. This is going to be useful. So I appreciate that level of thought in this stuff. But I did also appreciate Arthur's like, he's such a fanboy, but he did not make it weird. And so I really appreciated that of him. And he actually was very forthcoming with information and like just like getting them in the department. And yes, he made sure he got what he wanted out of it, but it wasn't anything that was like creepy or like strange in order to get that. So I liked Arthur for that, but I'm like, I can't credit Arthur because it was Elsie's plan. However, I just don't like the weirdness about the fandom being used and her being Amari's friend. So I'm like, who do I credit here? Who do I make my MVP? I don't know. And that's where I am. It's question mark Elsie. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Kashana made Jaden her MVP because the shade had them all down bad, and then he came in and did what he did.
He ripped apart Laura's room.
Yeah.
Yeah, the shade had it. And Jaden said, oh, it's cool. He won't do it again.
That was the funniest thing. It's like, really? Like, how can you guarantee that the shade is not going to...
The way that they were just like...
We have an understanding.
That's it? That's all? What? It was that easy? How dare.
They just had to be like, oh, that's not cool. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it wasn't cool of me to bounce around. Sure.
I thought it was a game.
Yeah.
All right, benched.
I had to bench Harlow. I just she sucks.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the answer. She sucks.
Whereas I was like confused about MVP, I was very clear about benched. And I like my thing with Harlow, I think Harlow is one of my bench people, is that like the hate I have for her, like it's not real hate, like a hateration I have for her is based on her throwing Amari into the fray of being like part of like, this is reality. Like your influence only goes so far. Like this is all kind of like adult worldy, in a way. And it's like Amari's 13. You're putting on her the same level of like responsibility and understanding of the world that you would put on another adult and not a freaking child. And like where I am annoyed at I don't think Maria's way is the right way of doing it either, where she's kind of denying Amari the opportunity to like look into what's happening, like the fray of it all, and be able to build up, like help Amari build a plan of how to deal with stuff. She doesn't do that. She kind of denies Amari that because she's like, you need to be innocent. You don't need to be noticing these things. And that's just not a fair way to set Amari up. Harlow's the complete opposite. Harlow's like, I'm going to throw you in it. I'm going to make you part of it. And you're going to have to deal with the ramifications in the same way that I think an adult would deal with it. And that's just how I'm going to treat you. And I know Harlow is aware of like Amari's position as a Black girl within the situation, because she said that like, you're a Black girl who ended up in the bureau as a magician and you have all these things against you or whatever, but you became good. And I'm like, that is crappy, and I completely cannot F with Harlow for so many reasons. And that's like all of it, as we are so far in the story. That's all of it that I have for her. And then the other person that I benched was Director Van Helsing, because if he shows up, I'm probably going to bench him. But like the main thing was I don't, and this is my question, is there another interaction that we see between him and Maria? Because as far as I remember, this is the first time we see them interact with each other, and they're not even able to interact with each other because he just like disowns her and just acts like she doesn't even exist.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen them other than like off-page references. I think that's the first time.
So I'm like, the first time we see the interaction between father and child, that's not Dylan or Lara. He's equal, and she's the golden child. She was the vanquished. She was all the stuff that whatever that the bureau like was resting on and all that crap. And here he comes being a huge coward and an awful like what fatherhood? Where? I don't see it. So benched him as well.
I benched Bane and Harlow, which is mostly Harlow, but I did want to I think with Bane, right, like he is one, we still haven't really seen him. We saw him like that one time, but like all of the stuff is kind of happening on his word. And I think I was thinking a lot about I don't know if it's like a double blind, but the fact that like Harlow is his mouthpiece, but she's also pulling his strings. But a lot of that is still him. You know what I mean? Like she's using the stuff that he would have already been doing on his own in order to like reach her own ends. So
we keep getting told that he's an extremist too. That like he would put like
right, Laura, like it's not like people don't know who Harlow is.
Yeah,
but they know Bane. Like he already has a reputation, and so
it's very believable
all of these things,
what he's doing.
Like, yeah, nobody's surprised. Nobody's like, oh, he just changed no, he's actively, he's persecuting unwanteds and magicians and allowing Harlow to just kind of like twist the narrative to however she wants. And Harlow is twisting the narrative however she wants to reach her own like goals or whatever. So both of them can go.
And that's it for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and join us next week when we discuss chapters 22 through 24.
Wizard Team is part of the Black Nerds Crate Collective. If you want to keep up with our content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscrate.com. Follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Wizard Team Pod or at Black Nerds Crate. Bye.
Bye.